Hello everyone, my name is Nikolai and today we are going to look into creating an Azure Key Vault using the Azure portal and also Azure CLI. So in this video we will create an Azure Key Vault using the Azure portal and the Azure command line interface which I will call Azure CLI. We will use Azure role-based access control which I will call Azure RBAC. This is the recommended way and the way we should access any secrets, keys, or certificates from an Azure Key Vault. This is the recommended model from Microsoft for accessing the data plane. We will also enable soft delete and purge protection, and we will verify that we can store and read at least one secret. Key Vault centralizes secrets, keys, and certificates with auditing and recovery windows. Names must be globally unique, have 3 to 24 characters, and use only letters, numbers, and hyphens. So with that being said, let's jump right in. So as you can see on my screen right now, I have an account that I'm going to use for this demo. I have created a couple of key vaults just to test some of the concepts, but because this is a tutorial from A to Z, from logging to the portal and actually getting to a secret created and read through the key vault, let's start with the beginning. So in the portal, you have really two options of doing this. One, you can create the resource group itself and then attach to that resource group inside of that resource group, which is just a logical grouping of the resources, a key vault, or we can create as we go the resource group as we go on, right? So I'll pick the second option because sometimes being a lazy engineer is part of being a good engineer. So on the subscription, I'm going to pick a subscription here. I am going to pick subscription 1 due to the fact that this one has less permissions and provides me with more options on showing you how you can and cannot do certain things. And I'll use this as a basis for the next tutorial that I'm going to show also. So I'm going to create a new resource group. This can be named whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it RG demo key vault. This doesn't need to be globally unique or anything like that. You can name it whatever you want, but whatever it makes sense to you, right? Now, as I mentioned before, the key vault name needs to be a globally unique name. Therefore, no one in Azure basically can use that once you are using it. So let's pick something like testing out key secret reading. Oopsie, so we have a couple of issues here. Exactly as I mentioned before, we are not able to use certain characters or certain things. So I am going to make sure that this is, see, valid enough. Let's pick, must be, let's see. Yeah, it's fine like this, right? It doesn't really matter. In terms of region, I'm going to pick West Central Germany just because it's closer to my region. In terms of pricing tier, you have really two models, standard or premium. The premium includes support for HSM-backed keys, which means that that's a hardware secure module that Azure manages for you, but we'll get to that point a little bit later. So I'm going to go with the standard one. Recovery options. So in terms of recovery options, you really have two types of recovery options here. Soft delete, which will basically keep a certain amount of time the resources that you deleted in order for you to recover, but you also have the purge protection because otherwise you would have an issue with how you can purge something that you've just deleted in terms of objects in the key vault. So I'm going to say here the maximum is 90 days and the minimum is 7 days. I'm going to keep it 7 days because most likely I'm going to reuse the naming in a week or so. So just to be sure, I am going to enable purge protection. As you can see here, once enabled, this option can no longer be disabled on the key vault that you're going to create. Moving to the next step, we have here the permission model. There's an old permission model called Vault Access Policy and the newer permission model called Azure Role-Based Access Control. This is the recommended way of creating and authorizing through the Azure Key Vault. In terms of resource access, you have here a couple of quick options that will allow you to provide access to virtual machines, Azure Resource Manager, or Azure Disk Encryption for volume encryption. All it does here is just allows a certain resource type to access the key vault that you can configure right here. So you see, we can check this, but currently this is out of scope of what we're trying to do. What you need to remember on this page, Microsoft recommends us going with the Azure role-based access control. In terms of networking, if you are in an enterprise or in an organization, or even in your own low projects that you're doing at home labs and all that, you're most likely going to create a virtual network. In terms of virtual networks, then you want to have a private endpoint, which is just a way of connecting to your virtual network, your key vault, and also disabling public access. Disabling public access, what provides you is another layer of security and ensuring that only people that have access to your network, that's part of your virtual network or setup, will also have access to reach the key vault, not do operations or any of that sort. But for this tutorial, I'm going to let everything on default, all networks, and move on. On tags, you can create certain tags. Tags help you to filter, tags help you to manage and have an idea of what types of resources you implement in your organization. So we could say here like cost center and provide it a value. These are key value pair, let's say 533, and at down the line, you'll have maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 different numbers or values for the cost center. Then you can filter based on the cost center, on a department, on something like that, right? So this will be applicable at the key vault or resource group. Say you only want to do this on the key vault, you just uncheck the resource group. So you know at least that whenever you're going to use the cost center for a filter or checking, the key vault will show up. Moving to the next step, this is just a validation process that we are going to double check and ensure that everything is working accordingly. So we just scroll down here, we see the subscription, the resource group name, the key vault name, the region, pricing tier. Once we're all happy with this, we can hit create, or if you want an automation template for some reason and you're having trouble scripting or doing anything like that, you can just click view automation template and start using it. But we are happy with the result. We are going to hit create. This isn't going to take too much of time, to be honest, because provisioning key vaults is fairly a simple operation from the Microsoft side. So as you will see, it will just take a couple of minutes. While we are looking at this, I'm going to open the CLI command here. And what we are going to do right now is, oh, never mind. We'll get back to this one because the resource is done. Let's see. So we have our key vault, we have our vault URI, we have the SKU, the directory, all that stuff. As you can see here, also the tags. Let's see if we can do anything on this key vault. Apparently not. As you can very well see here, this operation is not allowed by RBAC. If role assignments were recently changed, please wait several minutes for role assignments to become effective. So what this means is that although we created the key vault, we do not have permissions to do certain operations on the objects that this key vault holds. Keys, secrets, certificates. These are three different object types, and there are three different roles or an administrator role that you can use. But as always, we are going to use in any situation, in any scenario, what we call least privileged access. That means what's the bare minimum access that you need in order to do the job that you're trying to do, right? So what we said here, our target right here is to make sure that we can create a secret and also read that secret. In terms of permissions, we are going to sit on the job function roles and we are going to search secrets and see what comes up, right? There are a lot of options, but we need to look at the ones that are particularly for this resource that we are trying to use. So scrolling down, you are going to start to see here Key Vault Administrator, Certificate User, so on and so forth. We have really two options. We either provided Key Vault Administrator or Key Vault Secrets Officer. I'm going to pick Key Vault Secrets Officer because this allows me to perform any action on secrets on the Key Vault except managing permissions, right? If for some reason I would have someone that only needs access to read the secret and not do any sort of operations, least privilege principle would say Key Vault Secrets user, as this only allows to read secret contents, right? As you can see here, there's a small note also where it says that only works for key vaults that use Azure role-based access control permission model. So this is very important. So I'm going to pick Secrets Officer. I'm going to click Next. And right here, we're going to select the members. You can provide this particular permission to either a user, a group, or a service principal. Service principals in terms of Azure land, we can call them app registrations or enterprise applications, or even a managed identity. Say you have an application that runs on Azure in Azure Web Apps, right? And you enable a user assigned managed identity or a system assigned managed identity. You can provide programmatically access to that particular resource to either read or manage a particular secret on this. So you would do that using managed identity. I'm going to select the members. I'm going to pick myself right here because that's the easiest way of doing it. I'm going to click next and I'm happy with the results, the role, the scope, the members, the description, all that. Let's review and assign. This is going to take a few seconds, but because this is something that takes time to propagate, sometimes, not always, as we can see here in this scenario, I do not have access to keys. I do not have access to certificates, but I do have access to secrets, which is proof that this is the intended result that we want. So right now we are going to create a secret. Let's name it secret number 1. Let's put a value, hello from Azure land. Content type, it's optional, we don't need to put. We can set also an expiration date and an activation date. We can enable or disable it or even add text to it. But currently we are happy with the result because our number one purpose right here is to create a secret alongside of reading the secret once the secret is created. We are going to click on the secret, then move to the current version. And as well as you can see here, we have a timestamp of when this was created. If this was updated, we can make some changes here, but we also have the option to see the secret value, exactly what I've written down, sorry. So hello from Azure land. So right now, what you could do, you could pull this secret using the secret identifier, or you can do it manually the way I did it right now and just copy the secret. So with this part here, we conclude our tutorial in terms of creating an Azure Key Vault, creating a secret, assigning the right permissions in order to do the specific operations that we want to do, and validating everything is working fine. So we are going to do the exact same thing now using the Azure portal. Probably, sorry, Azure CLI. So my bad. I kind of made. So in advance, what I did, I already created or logged in using AZ login. And after that, I did already select the subscription that I'm going to work with. So next steps here, the easiest way to do it is going to say, we are going to create a resource group. As you can well see, we have under the resource groups, a couple of resource groups here. I'm going to create a new resource group and I'm going to do AZ group create -n, which is name. We're going to use quotes here and say AZ CLI RG so we can identify this properly. And the location, basically the region, we can say West Europe. We're going to hit this command. We're going to wait for a few seconds. As you can well see, we created the resource group. We're going to refresh the page here and we have the Azure resource group created. Moving to the next phase, we are going to create an Azure Key Vault, AZ Key Vault, create. We're going to give it a name. The name we can call it, I don't know, let's say KV from Key Vault. It's a well-known abbreviation or acronym for this. Azure CLI RG dash West. Just I'm still going to make sure that I'm not going further than 24 characters. We are going to say right now that the resource group, so G comes from resource group, we are going to provide the resource group name AZCLI RG. And now, as we need to do it, we are going to select the region. One thing to keep in mind, you don't have to have the same region of the resource group as the key vault, but best practices say the only reason the way you want to use resource groups is to make sure you group them in a logical way. That would also mean that you want the key vault to be in the same resource group as the location of your resource group, right? So West Europe right here. Hopefully I did not misspell that. We're going to do dash dash again, retention policy, retention days, sorry. I'm going to pick 7 days again, then again, enable purge protection rule. Let's hit our command here and see if I misspelled anything or not. Ideally, this should just prompt me again with an ID location and all those details and provide me with the resource group. So we are waiting. Let's see if this is working from behind the scenes. Yep, this is working. That's great. We do have our resource group created. Again, I'm going to pick the same thing. As you can see, you don't have any role-based access controls created. You just had the permission to create the resource group itself. While this is working, you can see all the details right here. Everything is relevant for our search. So next steps. We are going to provide permissions to ourselves to this key vault. Exactly like we did on the role-based access control on the other key vault from the portal. This time we're going to use AZ CLI commands, right? So I'm going to say AZ role assignment create. I don't know. I am going to say here assign me. What's important here? You need to know your ID, that's your object ID or UPN, right? So this is very important. In order to get these details, you have multiple options really, but the easiest way is I think I can go to this role-based access control, role assignments, to pick myself right here, and I'm going to click on my name. I'm going to copy this object ID. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to paste it in here. So this should work. I'm going to call out the role now. Role key vault secrets officer, because that's the role that we provided before. And we are going to do right now the scope. The scope is really the key vault ID, right? So the key vault ID can be found in multiple locations, again, as I said, but the easiest way is to go to the portal, click on the JSON view, and copy the resource ID. This is probably the easiest way for me to do this. I'm very familiar with the portal also, and once we do this, we should expect ourselves to be, if I did not mistake any sort of, commands or misspelled anything. Okay, seems it's working. We are happy. Let's test this out. We're going to go to the secrets. As you can very well see, in our scenario, we are no longer having the issues with the permissions that you would see. The operation is not allowed by RBAC, all that stuff. So up until now, we are into a point where we created the resource group, we created the Azure Key Vault, we permissioned the Key Vault with least privileged access in order for us to do both operations. That means creating the secret, but also reading it. If we were only to read the secret, as I said, we would use the the secrets user role. Now, just to prove that this is also working from the local CLI, we are going to do AZ Key Vault secret set, and this is going to say vault uh, name. We're going to pick the vault name right here, put it in brackets. Name of the secrets is let's say demo password, and the value, because that's the important part right here, is being did this secret via Azure CLI. Let's see. Okay, so I misspelled this one. So value right here is wrong. It should be value. Okay, so now we have created it. Just to confirm that this is working, we have already have it in the portal. Cool. This also works. Last piece of the puzzle right here is really to read the secret. So in order to read the secret from the command line, we have multiple options, as I said, but I prefer to use AZ Key Vault again. Secret show vault name. I'm going to pick the vault name again. I had it in my clipboard. Name, which is the demo password. And we're going to do the query parameter, which is value, because we are querying the value, not the name. We already know the name. We need the value, right? So I'm going to say output TSV. So right now, okay, probably this is because I may have said something wrong here. Yeah, because I misspelled password. Sorry. So this happens from time to time. So instead of password, where I've written here, I misspelled the letters. So right now, yeah, see? So did the secret via Azure CLI. So let's confirm that we have the right secret value. Yep. So just a quick recap. What we try to achieve here today is understand how we create an Azure Key Vault via the portal and an Azure Key Vault via the Azure CLI command line. Why is this helpful? Because down the line, when you get more experienced with using this sort of commands, you can create entire scripts that can provision your estate, your infrastructure very quickly, very easily, and you can save time and also avoid having common misconfigurations that would put your organization or your project in a situation where you could get compromised. So let's go back a bit and discuss about pros and cons, and what's next, what's coming next. So, and in terms of pros, we're going to say that this is a centralized secret storage. It provides auditability, it provides recovery windows, and the recommended way of using it is role-based access control, which provides granular access control to your items in your key vault. Cons, let's say some cons here. I would say that one of the issues that this may cause some trouble to some of you is making sure that the name that you're going to use in your Azure Key Vault is relevant. So, and also it's not taken, right? And considering that's a 24 character limit, you may have issues. And another issue that you may have is, let's say you like using the same name, you have purge protection, you have soft delete. That will not allow you to recreate the same key vault in the time span period that you set up right there. So let's say 90 days to 7 days. So you'll have to be very creative in picking your key vault name in such a manner that you either wait the period of the purge protection and the soft delete, or just have a different name. Uh, I think this concludes our video for today. If you like the content, if you like the style, and also the explanations on how I proceeded with this documentation, with this tutorial, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'm new. I'm trying to provide value with hands-on results, with hands-on proof that you can learn the cloud in an era where everything needs compute. Everything is compute intensive. You need to work a lot on understanding how the cloud works. This is the channel for you because I'm going to provide a lot of videos of this sort with both technical explanations, with hands-on demonstrations from going from portal to AZCLI, and later down the line we are going to deep dive into IAC, which is infrastructure as code. So stay close, hit the like button if you like this content for future reference, and subscribe to get notifications whenever I post a new video. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.